Hello, folks. Welcome to the show. We're talking about goalies again, the best subject there is to talk about. Uh, the reason for this is, as you hopefully know, if you've been a subscriber, great. If not, maybe you should subscribe because we're talking lots of hockey, lots of cool info. Tell your friends too that you don't want them to be left out. But, anyways, back to the point is we're talking about awards as we're about 20 games away from the end of the season, even less now. And this is a motherboard of every goalie I think could earn at least a fifth place vote from voters in the Vezina race. I tried to limit myself, and it was pretty hard. Again, I love talking about goalies, and I think I want to do couple of massive goalie videos over the off season. But we're just going to talk about 19 today, and there's so much more I'd love to talk about. I'd love to talk about Kochetkov, Hofer, Blackwood, Soderblom, Samsonov, Toronto goalies get talked about a lot, I guess. Picard and all that stuff, and Jack Campbell too. But I had to limit myself, and I'm not very good at that when it comes to goalies. But I tried my best here. So without further ado, let's get into the numbers here. If you watched my previous goalie video, you may be familiar with these numbers, and you'll be familiar with who I picked to win the Vezina at that point, and how it's just kind of gone downhill from there. But anyways, his first number here is goalie point share. This is calculated and retrieved from Hockey Reference. I'm not going to get into the weeds of how it's calculated because it's a whole video of itself, and it's a little over my head. But as I understand it, and as I use it a lot, it's a measure of the quantity of contributions a goalie makes. So not necessarily quality, but their overall quantity. So goalies who play more and make more saves per game are going to get a higher share, which I think is fair. Next are the next two stats are pretty standard. You're probably familiar with them. Games played, their wins, their losses, and their extra time losses. This is their points percentage. So when they're credited with one of those last three, how often does their team get 2 points in that regard? Their save percentage, their goals against average, your shutouts, your total shots against, total saves you've made. This is saves per 60 minutes. I have to calculate this myself because I think it's a very interesting stat that isn't used enough. There's a reason that I don't have any blue or red there. I'm using blue and red to mark leaders or lack of leaders in each category, minimum of 25 games, because there is a guy with a 100% save percentage, but he played one game, so I'm not going to say he's got the best save percentage. So I had to say you have to have a minimum of 25 games played, and I didn't want to calculate save percentage or save per 60 minutes for a bunch of goalies, at least at this point in the season. At the end of the year, I might. I probably will, actually. But for now, just rule of thumb, this year 27 saves per game is about average, which is up from what it used to be back in the days of Kiprasov and those 2000s, 2010s, early 2010s like Jonathan Quick, Ryan Miller goalies. It was more 22, 24. Next is quality start percentage. So it's the how often a goalie starts a game and they end up with a save percentage that exceeds the league average of that year, or exceeds 8.85 if if they only faced less than 20 shots. A really bad start percentage, a really bad start is considered when a goalie is, I think it was like their save percentage is below 850 in a game they started, or something around there, and I converted it into a percentage. These next three are via NHL Edge, so the goalie's saves in high danger zones, medium danger zones, and low danger zones. I don't really care too much for medium and low danger zones, but they are interesting, especially when you get to Jacob Markstrom. And last, a lot of people will call this the most important goalie stat that's emerged in the last few years. I do have a bit of a bone to pick with it, but it is still a great stat. That's goals saved above expected. It changes from where you get it from because different people who track it will have different models. This is from Evolving Hockey because I think their model is a bit nicer than Money Pucks. I think Money Pucks is pretty harsh to goalies. And I actually have plans to develop my own in the off season, but I will get to that in the off season. Hopefully you're around for that. Hopefully tell your friends for that. But let's just talk about goalies for now. So again, let's get into it. We're going to talk about the 19 goalies I think who could at least get a Vezina 5th place vote, and then who I would put down on the ballot if I had a vote right now. First is Jordan Binnington, who is not getting enough credit as he should. He gets laughed at a lot, but he's really controlled himself and has taken on a heavy workload for St. Louis. Even though his backup Hofer has been very good, Binnington has been the star of the St. Louis Blues behind a defense that really isn't doing him too many favors. And despite that, he is in the top 10 in save percentage. This light blue means that they are top 10, but not top 5. If the deeper the blue, the closer to the top they are. And if they got white numbers on a deep blue background, that means they're number 1 in the league, and vice versa for red. Goals against average is a little high, but again, when you talk about the defense in front of them, you can forgive that. You can be happy that it's not 3, because that is the average right now. Actually, the league average is 3, or might be 3.01. It's changing. And shutouts, 3 shutouts, and like I said, as you look at all these numbers, it just talks about his heavy workload. 29 saves a game, nearly 30, closer to 30 actually than 29 saves a game, and he still has managed a 600 quality start percentage. Keep in mind all these stats from this morning of March 14th, I believe. Yes, March 14th, Thursday morning. And he also has one of the league's high danger save percentages, which helps with having the 3rd best goal saved above expected via evolving hockey in the league. He's been really incredible this year. Speaking of really incredible, Sergei Bobrovsky, I talked about in previous videos, I wasn't sure if how good of a season he would be, because he's at a point in his age where you don't know how consistent he's going to be. And especially after a long playoff run, it's easy to get injured or battered down, especially as an older goalie. That has not been the case for Sergei Bobrovsky. It is important to point out that part of it is that his workload is a lot lighter than it usually is. Florida's defense has been incredible. Bobrovsky only needs to make 25.68 saves per 60 minutes. But you shouldn't use that too much against him, because he still leads the league in points percentage, goals against average, and still has a .918 save percentage. So I'm not going to say he's bad because he has a good defense in front of him. He's still playing excellent. He's still on the highlight reel, and he still has 32 wins, which is good for 3rd best in the league. He delivers a lot of quality starts. Very rare for him to have a really bad game, and he has notable numbers in medium danger save percentage and goals saved above expected. So I don't know what $10 million is worth in a goalie, because goalies are so weird and hard to price. And I say that as a goalie myself, and a guy who I like to consider myself a goalie guru, but you really can't complain with Bobrovsky. Having a good goalie, it brings a lot of peace of mind for you. Next is Joey Daccord, who has brought a lot of peace of mind for Seattle. Seattle has been searching for a goalie, despite picking up 2 goalies in their first year who had good years before with Grubauer and Dreiger, and neither of them have really met the standards that they set on that year before they went to Seattle. Part of it is injuries for both, mainly Dreiger. Grubauer has had some notable moments though, but Daccord, young American goalie who excelled on their AHL team, has really emerged and has taken the 3rd best save percentage in the league at this moment at .919. He's 17, 13, and 10, and it has a 2.46 goals against average, which is 5th best in the league. 2 shutouts, not a terribly heavy workload, but pretty average per game. He leads the league in medium danger save percentage, and still has strong goals saved against lots of words, goals saved above expected, and is one of the league's most consistent performers with a quality save percentage of .684. Next is Thatcher Demko, who quickly established himself as a Vezina candidate very early in the season. He's 2nd in goalie point share. He's played 49 games and has won 35 games. He's 34 games. He's 34, 13, and 2. That's an incredible record, good for a 714 points percentage. He has a 917 save percentage and a 247 goals against average, as well as 5 shutouts, which is good for third in the league. His workload per game is around average, but Vancouver's defense is prone to allowing more high quality chances than other teams. But they've been able to win because Demko is very good there. He has the third best high danger save percentage in the league, and he has the fourth best goal saved above expected as well. Just an incredible season for the American on the Pacific Canadian coast. Next is Alexander Georgiev. Per game, he has not been so good. He has a ugly quality start percentage at 442 and a very low medium danger save percentage. But a lot of it is forgivable, including his 901 save percentage when you consider his workload. He's being relied a ton at 53 games. The only time he really gets the night off is when there's a back-to-back. And so far, so good for Colorado. Well, he's been able to win 34 games. He's 34, 15, and 3. I don't think he's going to get many Vezina votes or consideration, but because of his heavy workload and being tied with Demko for most wins in the league, of course, that could change by the end of the season. He should get some nods. Next is Connor Hellebuyck, who I think became the favorite by Christmas, and I think has remained the favorite. He's yet another American to talk about. He has 30 wins on the season in his 48 games, leads the league in goalie point share, save percentage, and goals saved above expected. His defense in front of him has been good to limit high-quality opportunities against him, but has otherwise allowed a decent amount of shots against him, and that's okay because Connor Hellebuyck is very good at making a decent amount of saves, so much so that he has a 921 save percentage, which, as mentioned, is best in the league. And he has the second best goals against average in the league. This could be another Vezina season for Connor Hellebuyck. Next is Adin Hill. In my last goalie video, I talked about how, if he returns to form the form he had at the beginning of the year after his injury, he could climb to top in the Vezina rankings, and he really hasn't. He's slumped since. Again, in the playoffs, he could turn it on. We know he can. He has a smaller workload. Again, because of injury, he's only played 29 games, so that might hurt his Vezina votes. But what's going for him is per game, he still has very good numbers. They're not as strong or as incredible as they once were. But 917 save percentage, 258 goals against average is still impressive. And he is one of the few goalies, and I think the only goalie who has played a significant amount of games to have a perfect low danger save percentage. So he has that to his credit. Connor Ingram has emerged as a starter, and as I talked about in the last goalie video, I talked about the struggles it took for him to get here, and he's been open about that too as well. Has the most shutouts per game. That's kind of why I gave him the nod, because both him and Jari have 6, but I had Ingram at number 1 because he did it in less games. But anyways, he has 6, which is tied for the league most, but again, did in less games, which has been really incredible that he's done that behind an Arizona defense that is below average. So as a result, his 909 save percentage, his 513 points percentage is quite forgivable. You might get a little worried by his 2.231 really bad start percentage, which is the highest of goalies here, and is top 10 and worst among goalies who's played 25 games. But it's not too bad, and again, quite forgivable when you know he can steal a game. Speaking of stealing games, it's Tristan Jarry, who, as mentioned, has 6 shutouts, also 909 save percentage, and he has quite a few losses on the year, but that's more of a Pittsburgh issue than a Tristan Jarry issue. He has been a bright spot for the Pittsburgh Penguins, to the delight of a lot of Penguins fans, though there's not a lot of delight going around. He also has a higher RBS percentage. I'm going to start saying that instead of really bad start percentage. I was going to shorten goals saved above expected, but that might sound like gay sacks or something. So giga sacks or something. Let's not get into that. Anyways, so Tristan Jarry, he has been exceptional for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I'm happy for him. I've always liked him, and I think a lot of the mistakes he made that people were mad at him was just him being young. He is a good goalie, and he has had an exceptional year this year. Unfortunately, it's just been an exceptional year behind a below-average team. Charlie Lindgren, like Tristan Jarry, is really having a breakout year, and this is Lindgren's real first taste at that, as he's been stuck behind some impressive goalies through his years. But like Jarry, it's on a team that's past its prime. Jarry hasn't played too much. He's 15-11-5 with a 912 save percentage. All pretty good stats. He's very reliable and not having a bad start. He's certainly taken over games and good enough to have 4 shutouts in his 33 games played. Next is Luukkonen. Luukkonen wasn't the guy that Buffalo Sabres fans thought would take over the starting job, but they're certainly happy he has in the way he has. They're not so happy that's because Devin Levi hasn't developed yet, but that's okay. Devin Levi's young, and so is Luukkonen, and he has just been excellent for the Buffalo Sabres. Yeah, I don't think he gets talked about enough either. He's 21-16-3, which is really good for a team that is not in a playoff spot. 914 save percentage and a 244 goals against average. He has 4 shutouts, and as I was about to record this video, he got his 5th shutout. He is the most consistent goalie in the league in a good way at a 711 quality start percentage, which got better today, as did all these stats. And his RBS percentage is almost below 10%. It's at 10.5% or 105. And he has one of the league's better goals saved above expected as well. Another Swedish goalie, a weird Swedish goalie who's playing on a team that has an inconsistent defense, a very good defense, but a defense that has been inconsistent. And it's led to some interesting and quirky numbers for Jacob Markstrom. He's having his best year since his Vezina candidacy. His 910 save percentage, don't let that fool you. It's a good number, but he's a lot better than 910. He's been playing like that, and these other numbers show it. Most notably, having the league's best high danger save percentage at 854. But he also has, funny enough, the league's worst low danger save percentage at 954. So having 2 shots from the blue line on Jacob Markstrom might be better than 1 shot in the crease. It's just funny that way. But despite that, he has managed to maintain the second spot on the goal saved above expected. There was a bit where he was number 1, but Hellebuck retook that. Markstrom is having a great season, and he's been fun to watch for Calgary fans as they look for what's next for their team. Speaking of what's next for their team, Peter Mrazek might be the guy for Chicago going forward. He's been the guy this year, and I think their best player. I'm aware Connor Bedard is on that team, and Connor Bedard is going to be their best player, but I think Mrazek has been the most important player on that team because he's not losing as much as one would expect. Does he lead the league in losses? Yeah, he has 25 losses on the year, but he also has 14 wins, and he does not have the worst points percentage. He's not even bottom 5 when he's on a bottom 1 team. And on that bottom 1 team that allows a lot of chances, he still manages to save 29.6 saves per 60 minutes for a 906 save percentage and a 308 goals against average. He's been limited to 1 shutout, but I think that's more of Chicago's doing than Mrazek's doing. I think he could have quite a few more on a team with an average defense. So I hope he gets some nods in the Vezina consideration, but I don't think anybody's going to fool themselves that he's going to get a lot of votes or top 5 votes, but I think everybody should look at him and say, hey, awesome job. I mentioned in my last video, I think it was funny, is that Mrazek had a really good season in Detroit when Detroit was still rebuilding, and then he left to these good teams like Toronto and Carolina, and it sucked, and really sucked. And so when he went to Chicago, I'm like, well, the last time he was really good was when he was on a team that was rebuilding, and he has been amazing this year. I can't say I would have predicted him to still be over 900 save percentage. I think he would have been closer to 900. 906, pretty good for the team he's on. And 14 wins is pretty good for the team he's on as well. Next is UC Saros, who for like the third straight year had a rough start and has been getting it together as the calendar year changes. UC Saros leads the league in games played at 53. He's 28, 21, and 4. A 9-0 save percentage is a little low for him, but it's been steadily improving, and part of it has been because of the heavy workload. Last year, he had the heaviest workload of any goalie. I think that was the case for the year before as well, and if not, he was top 3. And this year, he's still up there in a heavy workload. He has been a rock for the Nashville Predators. There's been a few more cracks this year, but a lot of those cracks are getting sealed as the Nashville Predators look to make the playoffs. UC Saros's below 800 high danger save percentage isn't bad, but is a little concerning, as you would expect more from a guy who's been incredible. But at the same time, it's impressive that it isn't bad considering the workload he's had in these last 3 years. So I think any bad stat that he has, like having one of the league's worst low danger save percentages, is that more of a probably workload issue than anything. Next, Igor Shesterkin, like Saros, had a shaky start to the year, which goes for the next 2 goalies as well. Shesterkin has also been able to really get into strong play and in a really good time as the playoffs are come closer and closer. He's 28, 13, and 2, which is a very good points percentage, top 10 in the league. Top 10 in the league also in save percentage, goals against average, and goals saved above expected. I don't think we'll ever see the kind of performance he put on as he did for the Vezina. He could do it again. Don't doubt him, but it's just really hard to maintain that. So I hope people aren't expecting him to be Dominik Hasek again, but he is being very good lately for the last couple of months now, actually, and just awesome. Again, one guy who's turned it around, probably more than anyone else, is Stuart Skinner. It is important to note that he is making less saves per 60 minutes than anyone else here. He gets the most help than other goalies here. He only makes 25.08 saves per 60 minutes, but he has still had a very good season. He has gotten himself to a 907 save percentage after an ugly start, a 2.57 goals against average, and 2 shutouts. He has a shared shutout, but that was more Picard's doing than him. And since that bad start, he's been extremely consistent. So consistent that he's met that despite that bad start, he's top 10 in the league in quality start percentages. Is it easier to have a quality start when the team in front of you isn't allowing a ton of shots? Yeah, it is, but it's still impressive that Skinner managed to have a .630 quality start percentage as of this morning, especially when you remember how ugly the year started for him and the Oilers as a whole. He has been a huge reason for the Oilers' turnaround. And at the end of the day, you can talk about, well, he's not that good, or maybe he is, or you think he's better. He had a great performance last night against Washington after allowing 2 goals I think he should have had, but he turned into an amazing goalie. And again, the goalie who has less saves means they probably have more energy to make an amazing save. But at the end of the day, whatever you want to say, the most important thing is, are the Oilers winning with him? And they are. Skinner has one of the league's better points percentage at .685. That's, I believe, 5th best in the league. Yes, that is the right shade of blue, 5th best. And he's 30, 13, and 3. Next is Ilya Sorokin. I don't think he's had a bad year as starter. I think a lot of the issues with the Islanders right now aren't him. At the start, it was him, but it wasn't just him. The Islanders as a whole had some issues going on, and Sorokin is one of those guys who has turned it around and given the Islanders a strong chance to get back into the playoff spot. I think they are in one right now, but it's very close. He's 22, 14, and 11. That last number, league leader. He's also league leader in shots against and saves. He makes 30.06 saves per 60 minutes, which is the highest number here. It's a very impressive number. and not necessarily a number goalies always want, because it's like, yeah, I'm able to make 30 saves, over 30 saves per 60 minutes, but at the same time, you don't really want to be in a position where you have to be doing that. But he has managed to have a 910 save percentage despite that heavy workload. Jeremy Swayman, I will say one of the reasons I think he's been very excellent is he doesn't have to play 50 games, or he will end up having played 50 games, but I mean at this point in the season. But that's still not to take away from the exceptional, very exceptional, and even great season he's had. That doesn't take away from the fact that he's 21, 7, and 8, which is good for the third best points percentage in the league, and a 920 save percentage, which is second best. He's 249 goals against average and 3 shutouts, which are top 10, and his quality start percentage of is 667 is one of the league's better numbers as well. He has been incredible for the Bruins. And lastly is Cam Talbot, a very pleasant surprise for LA fans. He had a great start to the year, but it did kind of slow down as teams figured him out a bit more and as LA as a whole struggled. But Talbot has still had a good season thus far overall. He's 19, 16, and 6, 916 save percentage, and a 249 goals against average. The rest of his numbers aren't too notable, but there isn't really anything bad there. The 625 quality start percentage is quite a solid number as well. So that's it for going over all the numbers of those goalies. So who do I think has been the best? Well, I already kind of mentioned it a bit, and that's Connor Hellebuyck. I think as soon as he became the favorite around December or November, he's held on to that. I felt Adin Hill might make a run for it, but he's kind of fallen off, and Hellebuyck has just been at his best, which is one of the best ever. Right behind him is another American goalie playing for a Canadian team, and that's Thatcher Demko, who has been one of the league's best in high danger save percentage zones and leads the league in wins, or tied with Georgiev, and he's been an extremely important part to Vancouver's ability to exceed all expectations and still win when their team isn't doing so hot. I gotta look up my notes for the other four, because I was looking at, I'll do this in alphabetical order. I was looking at 4 goalies to fill up the last 3, and that was Bobrovsky, Luukkonen, Markstrom, and Swayman. And I was kind of going back and forth. The knock on Bobrovsky I have is, well, he's not making that many saves per 60 minutes as these other guys, but at the end of the day, he still has the league best points percentage and goals against average, and one of the league's best save percentage, which at the end of the day, not league best save percentage. If I accidentally said that, I apologize, but it's still top 5. But at the end of the day, those 3 numbers are the most important. And so I said, okay, Bobrovsky is number 3. And then 4, I went with Jeremy Swayman. I think the 920 save percentage is pretty hard to argue against. The only reason he's not top 3 is his low, or not low, but relatively low share of games and load per game, if that makes sense. And then 5th, it became close between those 2 Swedish goalies. And I was going back and forth between Luukkonen and Markstrom. I like Luukkonen's stats better, but I'm like, well, Markstrom's goals saved above expected are notably better. And then, as I said, right as I was about to record, Luukkonen got another shutout. So I just said, okay, Luukkonen number 5. But it's not a slight at Markstrom. He has been very good this year. So we'll see who wins it. I do feel like it's going to be Hellebuyck. I think he's kind of running away with it. Whenever Winnipeg loses, Vancouver seems to lose too. I mean, Vancouver has won more games. They have been the better team, but it's not like Vancouver, has really pulled that far ahead of Winnipeg when they lose. And Demko doesn't pull too far ahead of Hellebuyck when Hellebuyck has a few down games. I think Hellebuyck leading in save percentage while having played 48 games is extremely impressive and is probably going to get him the Vezina, not just in my eyes, but voters' eyes. But hey, things can change at the end of the year. Let me know your thoughts, how you think of these goalies. Are you enjoying watching them, or are you mad that you don't have one of these goalies? Please like and share this video if you think I've earned it. I think I have. but that's up to you. You're the one who has control over that. Please consider subscribing and turning on notifications, as I will have more videos coming out, not just Oilers review, but in-depth analysis. And hopefully I get better at this and better at this over time. And hopefully the quality of videos improves too, but I'm not really tech savvy. So, whatever, however it comes, I hope it does happen. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you so much again, and I will see you when I see you.